This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about Robin Leach, Richard Burton, and acting lessons with chopsticks. All that and more as we watch Season 3, Episode 13 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello, cousin, and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I'm one of your hosts. Joining me every episode, every week, my lovely sister, Sophia. What's up, Sophia?
Hey, Imran, what's up? I'm so happy to be here. I've had a wonderful day. I just got back from acting class, and it was super fun. Today, we learned how to walk.
How do you walk?
On camera. It's different from regular walking. You have to, use the hips and the knees and be loose and tight at the same time. It's very complicated.
And jazz hands. Always jazz hands.
And always jazz hands.
You do any vocal exercises? Me, mo, 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 mo.
Bumblebee, bumblebee, something like that.
Where's the bumblebee? I hate these. Anyways, okay, well, that's appropriate you took an acting class because we are going to be discussing Season 3, Episode 13 of Perfect Strangers, titled To Be or Not to Be. And now they're just stealing lines from Shakespeare.
Yes, right away we know this has something to do with acting because we have this iconic Shakespeare quote from Hamlet, to be or not to be.
It's Hamlet. They're not even trying to be funny. We're just going to steal from... Look, if you're going to steal...
No puns, no plays on words.
Steal from the best, right? You steal from the best.
That is the question, indeed. If you were to look in the TV guide, you would see the following description for this episode. Balky and Larry are chosen over other staffers to appear in a Chronicle TV commercial.
Ooh.
But the actor who finally ends up with the choice part comes as a complete surprise to them both.
It's Mr. Twinkassetti. No, that would be funny. That would be very strange.
Wrong job.
Wrong job. Of course, Perfect Strangers starring Bronson Pinchot, Marklyn Baker, and in this episode, we get Rebecca Arthur as Marianne, Melanie Wilson as Jennifer, Belita Moreno, another fantastic appearance by Lydia Markham, and of course, Jo Marie Peyton Francis, Harriet.
Our favorite side characters in this episode, which aired on January 6th, 1988. Happy New Year. We're in 1988. Finally.
Dick Clark was still looking okay dropping that ball. It wasn't the robot Dick Clark that they replaced him with.
What do you remember from 1988 from your life?
Absolutely nothing. That particular New Year's, I don't know. We were probably at home watching the big Zenith Tube TV, watching the ball drop is what we did. And you were like,
1988.
Yay. Nothing happened.
We were watching something. Those were our prime TV watching years.
Yes, it was.
Okay, Act 1, let's get into it. We open in the basement of the Chicago Chronicle, where our two cousins work, as we know, and we see Lydia Markham, played by the fantastic Belita Moreno, who is Lydia, of course, is the Chronicle's nationally syndicated advice columnist. Yeah. And she comes running in from the garage into stage left into the basement, and she's wearing this fancy for 1988 dress. It's crushed. It's velvet. It's dark burgundy, and it's like pencil narrow on the bottom part with big shoulders on the top. Very much in the style of some of the dresses we've seen Jennifer wear on this show. And Lydia's also wearing fancy jewelry, these like dangly bejeweled earrings and a necklace. And she's in search of someone. Who is she looking for? Well, she's looking for a director, television director named Joel Berry, because we find out they are filming a commercial for the Chicago Chronicle. And Lydia's been running around this building trying to catch this director's attention so she could be cast in it.
Of course, she's trying to get a part. She's a big ham. And Balky notices, he's like, how can I not notice you in that dress? And Lydia's like, yeah, isn't it great? She goes, you would think that a nationally syndicated columnist would be able to attract his attention, but no. So I ran out and got this dress. She goes, it's an original, one of a kind. And she backs up and she's spinning around, showing the cousins when the elevator dings and opens. And what do we see? Harriet Winslow wearing the exact same dress and jewelry.
And jewelry.
Yes, they got the right down to the accessories, too.
A little bit later, we find out that store sold them both the same dress, but I thought it was funny that they also had the same earrings and the same
told
necklace.
both of them probably it was one of a kind. There's a great line. They're looking each other up and down, and Harriet just looking at her goes, I better be looking in a mirror. It's so funny. And Lydia's like, they told me mine was the only one like this. And Harriet goes, in your size, baby. Great line.
And then Lydia says, Harriet, just between you and me, I don't think that's your color. And secret side note, right before she said this, I kind of was thinking that dark velvety burgundy color looks better on Harriet.
Well, you need the contrast. It pops,
Yeah. But funny that they wrote that line in because I was like, oh, I just had that thought.
Lydia's got a point.
It looked better on Lydia. But anyway, she's like, just between you and me, I don't think that's your color. And Harriet just looks at her and goes, today it is. And then we hear sort of the buzzer that calls the elevator. And Harry's like, oh, that could be Mr. Barry. And she distracts Lydia by saying, oh, look at that stain on your dress. And Lydia's like, what stain? She looks down, classic Mr. X. Looks down. Harriet runs into the elevator and shuts the elevator door. And then this is really funny. Lydia's like, oh, she's good. And she decides to run up the stairs, right?
Yes.
But she's in this narrow skirt part of the dress. So she can't really take big steps. So she runs up the stairs and then does this funny little hop thing with her feet
jump up the stairs.
Her legs in this narrow skirt.
It's very realistic because every time I see
the audience loves it.
Every time I see celebrities wearing those really tight pencil thin dresses, I'm like, how do they walk? How do they sit down? How are you doing anything when you can't pull your legs apart?
You can't. But the audience loves it. She takes two of the stairs in this funny little hop thing and then runs up normally the rest. And so she exits the scene. So both of the women exit the scene, leaving Balky and Larry just watching this whole scene in bewilderment a little bit in the basement. And Balky is all excited and he turns to Larry and says, maybe the director is going to see Larry and put him in the commercial. And he says, then you'll become a star and start living the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Now, what is the lifestyle of the rich and famous?
Well, he's referencing a famous TV series show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous that I remember ran from 1984 to 1995, hosted by one very excitable British man by the name of Robin Leach. And now Balky breaks into an amazing Robin Leach impersonation. Do we even attempt this at all? It's so exuberant and over the top.
Do you remember Robin Leach? Watching Robin Leach?
I do remember watching Robin Leach, and he would take you inside the houses and the planes and the boats of all these famous people.
It was like the Cribs of the 80s.
It totally was. And you're like, why does this guy get to go meet all these rich people? And also, funny side note, Bronson Pinchot in the 80s played Robin Leach in Pepsi taste test commercials.
Interesting.
He was there as himself, and then he would play Robin Leach also.
So back in the scene, it's Balky, right? Not Bronson Pinchot.
It's Balky
who has a
Robin
Miposian
Leach.
accent, but suddenly drops his Miposian accent altogether and goes into Robin Leach's over the top, loud British accent.
And it's very distinctive, and he does it.
Experts say it couldn't be done. Impossible. Oh yeah. A man with no upper lip at all parlayed it into spectacular screen success and a fabulous dream villa in pulsating Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, you got to do the P's.
Has success ruined him? Well, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. No, he didn't do it as well.
That's pretty good, but he does it so okay. Well, of course not. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. Great Robin Leach. And then Larry goes, look, he's probably not going to pick me. And suddenly you see the director, Joel Berry, played by actor Steve Vinovich, and his assistant director named Miles, played by Don Woodard. They enter from the back, the archives door, and Joel is mad at Miles for showing him a loading dock as a location for a commercial. He goes, we're not shooting a Beckons commercial, Miles. And I was confused. I was like, what? What did you just say?
Beckons.
What is?
Yeah.
Turns out Beckons was Van Lines, and it was a well-known moving company.
Okay, interesting. But in Miles's defense, back in the days of print newspapers, and very briefly, I worked at print newspapers.
The loading dock's a very active, important place.
I think the loading dock is a good place because it shows the paper going out to the people in bundles with those little plastic tie things that you had to undo very carefully.
Well, this director's not very imaginative already.
I think it's a good spot for a newspaper. Anyway.
And then he's walking and he stops suddenly, director. He goes, "What's in this place? I mean, it looks like a basement." And Miles goes, "It's the basement." The director goes, "Oh." And smiles and walks around. And then once Balky realizes that's the director, he gets super excited because for some reason he thinks he may know Wayne Newton.
He's a director. He might know
And of course, we know the island of Meepos loves Wayne Newton. And he's about to go over there and bother him. And Larry stops Balky. He goes, "Balky, he's a very busy man. Don't bother him. Just continue to work as if he's not here."
Balky's like, okay. He's a little sad, but he goes back to his mail table. And then the director notices him, and he does that thing where he like frames the shot with his hands in L shapes in right angles.
It's the cliche, I'm a director signal, universal symbol for I'm a director.
So he's framing the shot with his fingers of both hands, and the frame is pointing at Balky, and he follows him, which confuses Balky. He stops for a minute, then keeps walking. And then Balky's at his mail table, and he, like, the director had framed him and followed him with his fingers, and then he like pushes his hands forward, and Balky like jumps back. That was also a very funny, tiny physical comedy moment.
That's great.
He like flinches, but they're at a distance, and so Balky is just like trying to ignore them, like Larry told him to, and so he walks back from his mail table to Larry's desk, and he says, "Here's your mail, cousin. Here's your mail, cousin." And the director says, "I don't believe it, Miles. Two people who are actually working instead of auditioning." So I imagine this director has been like scouting spots all over this building, and everybody's been trying to like audition or show off for him.
Oh, yeah. And we'll get a taste of that. But I'm sure everybody's being really phony and fake when he comes around. And then the director looks up to Balky. He goes, "Can I see that again?" Balky goes, "Can you see what again?" And the director goes, "Just give him the mail." Balky goes, "I just did." And the director goes, "I know, but do you just mind going through the motions again?" And then Balky just starts shoving the mail to the side, just with the motions. He's like, over and over. And the director's like, no. Just walk to the desk. And then Balky walks. He goes, "Walkity, walkity, walk." And he goes, "Stop."
Balky walks into the, like, you can hear Bronson Pinchot kick the thing.
He runs right into the desk. Yeah. And then he goes, "That's it, Miles. I have found the person for my commercial." Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Is it Balky?
Larry gets up. He's excited. He goes, "Balky, did you hear that? I think you're going to be in the commercial." And the director goes, "Oh, well, he's going to be in it too. But you," and he points to Larry.
Oh, no.
"You're my star." 3 words you should never utter to Larry Appleton.
Larry Appleton, for real.
This director is going to learn the mistake soon. And right at this moment, when he's got his cast, Harriet and Lydia appear at the top of the stairs in their matching dresses, and they see Joel, and they break out into a duo of the classic song, "Together Wherever We Go."
And they like synchronize snapping and
they do
dancing
a little
together, choreographed. Yeah.
Auditioning for
Wherever
the director.
Wherever we go, whatever we do.
Originally written for the musical Gypsy. I know the song. I'm not familiar with Gypsy, the musical.
Well, it was a very apt song. I'm not familiar with it either, but it was a good song. It made sense in the moment because they're in matching dresses and matching jewelry.
Yeah, but they're just embarrassing themselves at this point because he's already found his star, Larry Appleton. Oh, boy.
So we fade into the next scene, and it is that evening at Larry and Balky's apartment, and Jennifer and Marianne are over. They're having a nice little double date night. They're all sitting on the couch, and they have just eaten a ton of Chinese food, and we know that because there's like lots of empty white Chinese food boxes strewn about the coffee table, which means they'll be hungry again in about 30 minutes. But,
that's the
they're all
Chinese
like
food
very skinny anyway. So
there's tons of Chinese food there.
There's a lot of Chinese food on the table. we find out that Jennifer will not be able to see Larry act because of work. They're flight attendants, remember? And so she and Marianne are both flying to boring old Paris. They're not going to get to see Larry doing his thing as an actor. Balky says, don't worry about it. You might get a chance to see him act at some point. And he says, quote, Cousin Larry is thinking of becoming a professional lesbian. And Jennifer is like, what? And Larry just goes, matter of factly, he goes, thespian. And then Marianne goes, what? And that moment is so funny. Okay, I laughed so hard.
That's one of the best lines in this episode is when Marianne goes, what? She doesn't know lesbian or thespian, or maybe she knew what a lesbian was.
She's more confused by thespian than by lesbian.
Larry goes, actor.
And he says, I was just kicking around the idea of doing some theater, local stuff. Then who knows, maybe Tinseltown. And then Balky's like, cousin, you're going to Santa's Village?
And then Larry says Hollywood, explaining. But I do love the Santa's Village. This is like a really... I thought nobody knew about Santa's Village. Well, we had one here.
It's a very Chicago... I thought it was just a Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I guess that is just Chicago. Yeah. Anybody else, I wonder, if they didn't live here, would they know about a very small, obscure amusement park that...
Well, he's either referencing the small, obscure, Christmas-themed amusement park in Chicago called Santa's Village.
Oh, or the actual Santa's Village.
Or he's referencing the actual Santa's Village that the theme park is based on.
Okay, it could be.
A village where Santa lives, and because of this word tinsel.
Tinseltown, okay.
So he's confusing Tinseltown, which is a nickname for Hollywood, with...
I thought of the theme park because I have there's photos of me there when I was very little.
That could be what Balky knows because he's in Chicago. But it's a chain of references.
Yeah, it is. It's a reference within a reference. Anyways, Jennifer gets up. They have to leave because they got to get up early. She tells Larry good luck and actually gives him a kiss on the cheek. I was surprised.
Oh my goodness! Finally.
Oh my God! He gets a kiss on the cheek, and then Marianne says goodnight to Balky, and then he just shakes her hand, which I thought was weird.
It's like they switched places. Yes. Switched dynamics.
Yeah, it was very strange, but it was still kind of sweet. And as they start to leave, Larry goes, and don't worry, if this all works out, like I think it might, I won't forget the little people. And they smile, and they turn to leave. But Larry's not done. He goes, the people who believed in me, the people who said, Larry, you've got a dream. Go out and live it. The people, and then Jennifer cuts him off. She goes, Larry, I have to do my hair in the morning.
Oh my God, it probably takes her forever to get her hair that.
See how big her hair is, Larry? He's like, sorry, see you when you get back. Larry just can't stop talking about being an actor.
He's like already in his head. His head has already expanded a lot about
Marlon Brando in his head already.
Commercial.
Yes.
So then Balky is about to go to bed to get ready for their big day the next day. But Larry stops him. He says, Balky, we have a lot of work to do. I want to prepare you for the commercial. And Larry wants to rehearse. And Balky's confused because what is there to rehearse? And he says, I just walk up to you like this and say, here's your mail, Mr. Appleton. And then Larry's like, that's how you're going to do it tomorrow? Oh, Larry. Balky, of course, says, well, that's how I do it every day. And Larry, okay, so here's the ultimate Larry-splaining moment.
There's a great Larry-splaining.
Says, Balky, every day you're a person delivering the mail, but tomorrow you'll be an actor playing the part of a person delivering the mail. Two completely different things. One is a job, the other is acting.
Balky goes, no, cousin. One is delivering the mail, and the other is delivering the mail. And then we get a great Balky. You know, more Larry Splaying is coming whenever he does the condescending Balky. I love this. He goes, I know a little bit about acting. Oh, why be modest? I know a lot about acting. In high school, I built the sets for West Side Story. Okay, so he worked on crew for like one musical in high school. And Balky goes, oh, I love that one. And he smiles, and then he starts singing Tomorrow from Annie.
Tomorrow, I love you, tomorrow. Which is such a funny thing. These writers are so astute with these with these jokes
because it's easily confused because the song in West Side Story is Tonight, something, night.
Tonight,
that's a great song too.
No,
but like confusing Tomorrow from Annie from Tonight from West Side Story is
so
fantastic.
Specific and so funny.
They love their musicals, and I love that they love their musicals.
So impressed by that line.
And then Larry starts guilt tripping Balky into rehearsing. He goes, I don't want you to be embarrassed tomorrow because you wouldn't let me help you tonight. And Balky's like, I don't want to be embarrassed tomorrow. And Larry's like, no, I didn't think you would. And he goes, here, let's get started. And now this is possibly one of the finest pieces of physical comedy we're going to see this season, perhaps in all of the seasons.
This upcoming scene is one of the like top 10 scenes in all of Perfect Strangers that stayed with me.
Yes.
Through my life after originally seeing these episodes in the 80s. Like to this day, even before we ever started rewatching for this podcast, this was one of those iconic scenes that was always with me.
Oh, there's a line coming up that I still say to this day. So anyways, Larry sets everyone. He puts Balky all the way to the right by the in the kitchen, the coffee, and he's sitting at the couch. And he goes, your workspace is over here. You cross to me. Hand me the mail. And he goes, okay, ready? Larry goes and sits back down to the couch and he goes, go. Balky takes one step and Larry goes, wrong. Right away. And Balky's like, but I haven't done anything yet.
And what does that wrong remind you of?
Oh my God. Every time he does the wrong, there's only one orange person you can think of.
We will not say the name.
Yes,
okay.
Voldemort. Don't say his name. But yeah, every time. And so, yeah, you know, and it's funny when he does it. But yeah.
Balky's like, but I haven't done anything yet. And Larry starts going into his explaining again. And he says, and he tells him that his high school drama teacher always said, acting is just concentration and relaxation.
Two opposite things right there.
So when you walk, concentrate on relaxing.
And then he goes, concentrate. And Balky scrunches up his face. On relaxing. And then Balky relaxes. It's so funny. But like concentrate on relaxing is so funny if you think about it.
And this is coming from a high school drama teacher. Okay, you and I both took drama in high school. Yeah. I don't walk around thinking like I'm some big actor, nor do I remember anything. I remember some things, but not quotes from the teacher.
Our directors would just yell at us from the back of the theater because we would say the lines wrong and mispronounce words. That's all we got. And now the brilliant physical comedy, Sophia.
Brilliant.
As Balky starts, they reset and Balky starts walking very awkwardly. And then Larry now...
No, wait. How is he walking? Oh, yeah.
Well, first he just starts walking like very stiff-legged, like he takes one step. But Larry turns into like he's leading a yoga class and trying to get Balky to relax all parts of his body. So as he's walking, he goes, relax your feet. And Balky's feet get all wobbly. And he goes, relax your knees. And then his knees start wobbling as he's walking over. He goes, relax your hips. And then Balky smoothly, his hips start swinging. Swing those arms, Larry tells him. Balky swings his arms everywhere. Head up, shoulders back, and then Balky leans back and starts falling backwards. He goes, not that far back. And then he stumbles forward and finally steps in front of Larry. And Larry waits a beat and looks at him and goes, not bad. And it just looked completely ridiculous. It's the funniest walk.
It's funny
I've
that
you
said he sounded like a yoga teacher because usually in yoga, when the instructor's saying relax your feet, relax your knees,
down on your back.
You're in shavasana at the end of the class, and you're just lying on your back.
That's what it reminded me of.
You're not moving upright and walking. How could you even do that?
But just like from where Bronson starts all stiff to ending all rubbery and wobbly at the so funny.
So here's our favorite part coming up. So now that Larry is happy to some extent with how Balky is walking, now they have to work on the lines, right?
Line delivery.
So Larry's tells him to say the line, and Balky says, here's your mail, Mr. Appleton. And Larry's like, mail. And he's like, you've got to emphasize mail. That's the word. Now try it again. And Balky goes, here's your mail. And Larry goes, mail. And Balky says, mail. Larry goes, mail.
Mail.
And he wants Balky to say it how he's saying it, drawn out, mail. And they both go, now they're looking right at each other, and they're just going, and they're making funny shapes with their mouth, and they're both saying, mail. And Larry is trying to show Balky that he's like pointing at his own mouth, that he should curl his tongue, because Balky's got this Meposian accent, right? So he's like flattening the word a little bit, mail. But Larry wants him to say mail. And he wants him to curl his tongue at the end part. And he has an idea to help him.
Which this is a real technique too, isn't it? I
he
think.
Picks up, there's all that Chinese food still on the table. He picks up 2 chopsticks and he shows him in his own mouth. He goes, mail. And towards the end of mail, he puts a chopstick in his mouth and curls his tongue around to get the L, right?
Yeah.
Mail. And then he's like, Balky, now you go. And he has another chopstick, and Balky says, mail. And then he shoves the chopstick too far, too forcefully into Balky's mouth, and he can't even finish the word. And Balky has closed his mouth, his whole mouth over the chopstick, and then Larry pulls it out abruptly, and it's a funny, that part was really funny too.
Okay, so we worked on the line delivery with mail, and Larry's like, okay, let's put it all together. He resets Balky, and Larry goes, all right, ready, go. And so then Balky starts walking again with the same stilted, wobbly walk,
head
looking
up,
completely,
back,
and then
far back.
Yes, and then Larry does the whole thing: relax the feet, relax the knees, hips, swing those arms, head up, shoulders back. And Balky just walks into Larry and bumps into him. And Larry sits down, waits for the line, and then Balky goes, "Here's your mail, Mr. Appleton."
No, it's way exaggerated. He's like, "Here's your mail, Mr. Appleton."
And then he looks at him hopefully, and they're just staring, and there's a pause, and Larry looks at him and goes, better. And now I've walked around
so excited
for the past 30 years, every so often just going, here's your mail.
Mr.
Appleton. Mr. Appleton.
Same. For 30 years, that line has been in my head. And if anyone ever responds to it or knows it, I will immediately fall in love with them. Here's your mail, Mr. Appleton.
What about you, listener? Does that line stick in your head? Let us know what lines you remember. Join the conversation. Join our Facebook group. It's the Dance of Joy podcast group. Just search for that. And I post a thread every week of the episode we're recording. So you can leave your questions and observations, and we will give them a shout out at the end. But it's just a fun place to hang out and geek out about a very niche-y thing, which is Perfect Strangers.
Geeking out, those threads is growing into a nice little community. We have quite an active discussion of every episode.
There's
now.
30 comments on every episode thread. It's out of control.
So those of you who are in there, I know you're listening. Thank you so much. Keep having those conversations. We love to watch the exchange. Okay, moving on. We are now at Act 2. Act 2 starts. We're back at the Chronicle. It's the next day. It's the day of the filming of
everything's
the commercial.
Set up there. You see cameras. You see lights. It's very exciting.
Big day, right. The whole film crew is there. They even have those little Hollywood folding director chairs.
Of course, you have to have those. Where's the director going to sit? Where's Miles going to sit?
So the director, everyone's already set up. The director is gets everyone in their positions, and he's like, you know what? I want a little spontaneity today. We're gonna do this without a rehearsal.
Ooh, that's a risky move, Joel.
Raw,
yeah.
So he takes his place in his chair, and Miles says, "Roll tape," and the director says, "And action."
And what does Balky do?
Balky does this wobbly, loosey-goosey walk, the same thing he was practicing with Larry the night before. And he walks across the room just as he reaches Larry's desk. The director goes, cut. He's like, what is this? So he pulls Balky over and he's like, are your legs okay? And Balky, this is a great line too. He says, well, I don't mean to brag, but on Mipos, they're the talk of the village.
Oh, everybody loves Balky's sexy legs on Mipos. He even he pulls up his pants like he's showing him. It's so funny. And then Larry just then stands up and goes, Joel, can I have a second? And but the director goes, oh yeah, Larry. And steps out, calls him Larry. And Larry goes, don't worry. He'll get it. I've been working with him myself. Just tell him less knees, more hips. That should do it. And the director goes,
like, what?
Less knees, more hips. Got it. And he starts to walk back to Balky. And Larry goes, thanks, babe. Oh my God.
It's starting already. I cringed. He called the director babe.
And Joel is just like, oh God, this guy. And he goes back over to Balky and he goes, Balky, he's like, I hear you've been working with your cousin. And Balky goes, oh yes, he's been very helpful. He taught me the difference between just delivering the mail and being an actor who's playing the part of a person delivering the mail. And Joel goes, I see. You know what? Just forget everything your cousin told you and just walk over there and deliver the mail. And they reset. Miles again goes, roll tape. Director goes, and action.
And so Balky took the direction well. He took the note.
Yes, he
and
did.
this time, this is the second take. He walks over like normal Balky. He delivers the line like normal Balky. And then as soon as he finishes, he's like, I did it.
Oh, no.
He breaks. And Joel and the director's like, cut. Because Balky, of course, ruined the take by celebrating immediately after his line. Larry explains to Balky that he did his line well, but now he has to let Larry do his part. That's why we're here.
Oh, that's why we're there,
That's why, because Larry's the star, of course. Balky's very concerned. He starts apologizing profusely, but the director says, no, it's all right. And he pulls Balky back to his starting point. He like drags him by the hand, turns him around, and thwops the mail back into his hand and returns to his director chair. They start again. Now we're going for take 3, he says. And then Larry from his desk goes, roll tape.
Oh, no.
Oh,
wait,
boy.
Miles. That's Miles' job, which Miles goes, Larry, that's my job. And Larry, this is all gone to his head very smugly. He goes, then let's get with it, Miles. Oh my God, Appleton. And I was like, I just facepalm. This gets cringy like watching Curb Your Enthusiasm.
He is
cringy.
the worst.
Miles finally says, roll tape, and we get another call of action. This is yet a new take, and this take starts perfectly. Balky walks over, delivers the line, walks over naturally, says it perfectly, but then Larry starts his lines. He takes the mail from Balky, and he turns to the camera, and in this weird, deep, forced, labored line delivery goes, thank you, Balky.
Thanks, Balky.
Here at the Chicago Chronicle, we work hard every day. When you go, cut, Joel goes, cut, what is going on? He walks over, he goes, what the hell was that? And Balky thinks he did something wrong, because Joel goes, no, not you. Him, what was that voice? What happened to your regular voice to Larry? Larry goes, that was my regular voice, modulated to performance level. And Joel goes, well, don't modulate. Just speak. And Larry's like, okay, if that's what you want. And Joel's like, indulge me. And they reset again. And Larry, I can't believe that voice was hilarious. So they reset again, but then this joke of the director pulling Balky over, he's thwapping the mail with that loud sound.
It's done like repeatedly. And we know already that like repetition of something funny makes it funnier. So he pulls him by the hand.
But each time he's getting
room,
more frustrated and it's going quicker.
Around, swaps the mail
it harder.
back into his hand exactly the same way. Miles says, roll tape. He says, action. Okay. The next take. It's the same start. Balky walks over normally, hands the mail to Larry, says his line, and then Larry starts his line kind of in the same delivery. He didn't really unmodulate that much, a tiny bit.
No, he didn't.
But he goes, here at the Chicago Chronicle, we work hard every day. But hey, that doesn't mean we're not fun people. And then immediately we're cut. And the director gets up again and walks to Larry's line. He's like, where did those words come from?
It wasn't in the
Fun
script.
people isn't in my script. And Larry, this is even cringier. He goes, well, I was having trouble with the lines you gave me. They didn't pop.
Oh, God.
And the director says, just say the lines the way they're written, okay?
Yeah, he's a full-on diva at this point now.
Larry is being so cringy and so extra, we would say.
He's being very extra. That's what the kids say today, huh? Okay.
So then we have this repeated repeated thing where the director drags Balky by the hand, walks him back across the room, twirls him around, thwops the mail in his hand. He says, "Okay."
The audience laughs every time.
Because the thwop is getting
louder,
audible, more and more audible with every time.
He's trying to keep his cool, this director.
And he's like, "All right, one more time. Here we go." And he sits down again. Miles says, "Roll tape" again. The director says, "Action" again. And Balky walks over normally and he says, "There's your mail, Mr. Appleton." And then Larry goes, "Cut!"
Oh, no.
And the director's like, "No. Why?" And he gets up. He's like trying hard to maintain his composure and not lose it with Larry. He says, "You can't say cut. That's my job." And Larry says, "Yes, but he said there's your mail instead of here's your mail. And I thought we were sticking to the script."
Oh, God, Larry.
Burn. He tries to burn the director back. Balky's like, I'm sorry. And Joel's like, "No, it wasn't you. You're doing fine." And then he says, "Larry." And then he stops and he turns to his crew and he's like, "Let's take a break. Hi. And he calls a creative meeting over at the mail table, and the crew all walks over to the mail table.
So the whole team goes over to the mail table to have this meeting, and before they can even say a word, Larry just pops in to the side. He goes, "I think I have a solution."
He pops
Jeez,
in.
Larry.
The director, and he's much shorter than him too.
Joel's like, "Larry, I think I have a solution of my own." He goes, "We really don't need you for this meeting." And Larry looks at Miles. And Miles shakes his head no, as everybody else. They're like, "We don't need you." And then Larry's like, "Okay, we'll try it your way first." And Larry walks back to Balky, who's worried. And Larry's like, "The director seems upset with someone." And then Balky's like, "I'm doing my best, cousin." And Larry goes, "Don't you worry, Balky. If they decide not to use you in this commercial, I walk."
Oh,
just continuing his divaness. Yes, he's going to stop the whole production.
Diva.
Oh, boy.
And that is the end of Act 2.
Listener, if you enjoy the show and want to support the show and want to make sure we get to the end of season 8 and do every episode every week, consider buying us a virtual coffee. It's a little virtual tip jar we have on our website, danceofjoy.com/support. It goes a long way to putting some fuel under our perfect stranger's wings. You are the wind beneath my wings, listener. Just remember that.
Every little contribution helps us keep this going. We love coffee, both real and virtual. So if you can spare coffee, go to our show and click that support button.
Yeah, everybody still has change in their sofa cushions, don't they? That's still a thing. That's all we want. Look down right now. There's change. You buy us a coffee. There you go. Act 3, sister.
Act 3. We are sometime in the future after filming. It's not really clear.
It must be quite a bit because
a couple months at least.
Yes, because things have happened.
Things have happened, and we'll find out why we think it's that far ahead in just a moment. We're back at the apartment, and we're on another double date with Jennifer and Marianne. We're all sitting on the couch again. And again, we're eating tons of Chinese food, but it's different Chinese food.
Yeah, different restaurant. These are like all red boxes.
The boxes are red.
So it's like their second favorite Chinese food place.
They must love Chinese food. They finish their meal. They all get up. They're like starting to clean up the boxes. And Jennifer notices something on the TV. It's the commercial happens to come on the TV. And Balky gets all excited. He's like, "It's our commercial." And apparently they haven't seen it yet.
I guess not.
So he's so excited because there was no YouTube then. You had to just wait till the commercial came on TV.
You had to edit it and put it into the thing. And you had
then
to wait
just
till
sit around watching TV.
You didn't know when it was
going
to air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they get all excited. And Larry's like, no, we don't need to see that. And he tries to go and turn the commercial off. But they all stop him. They're like, "Yes, we need to see it." And they turn the TV back on and they all sit down to watch this commercial. And then we see the commercial.
Oh
the
my
final
God. We
version
see the actual commercial.
Yes. And this is what happens. It starts exactly how we saw it start several times while they were filming. Balky walks over to Larry and he says, "Here's your mail, Mr. Appleton." And then it's all different. He sits on the corner of Larry's desk and he looks straight into the camera. And he does all the talking. He goes, "Hi, I'm Balki Bartokomos, and I just delivered the mail to a reporter here at the Chronicle. If he were not so busy writing an article for today's paper, he would tell you that here at the Chronicle, we work hard every day to bring you the news with a friendly touch." And then he pokes Larry's shoulder with one finger, like a aggressive touch, friendly touch. And then he finishes, "So join our friendly family every morning with the Chronicle." And then an announcer's voice takes over, and we see on the screen the Chicago Chronicle, news with a friendly touch.
That's their slogan.
And the whole time he's delivering this, these lines, Larry is just staring into the camera like a deer in headlights.
It's the best, funniest expression.
He just receives the mail with his hand, and his hand stays there, and he's just staring wide-eyed.
Like, "Hey, I'm here." And then as the camera pushes in, he slowly moves his head closer to stay in the frame.
Camera zooms in a little bit to Balki.
So at that meeting, Joel was like, "Miles, we need to give all the lines to Balki." And it's so funny. And the way it's revealed is hilarious because you don't expect it. And Balki does a great delivery. Yeah. And Larry's face is so funny.
When it zooms in, and in the final bit of the commercial, it zooms a little bit into Balki, and Larry's as if to crop out Larry's face, but he moves his face up toward Balki as it zooms to be in the edge of the frame.
"I'm here too."
My goodness, so
his face
funny.
The best facial expression ever. And then Marianne goes, "Balki, you were wonderful." And Balki goes, "Oh, cousin Larry was good." And Marianne goes, "Was Larry in it?" And Jennifer's like, "Of course he was. And you were very good too. I mean, it's hard to just sit there and not say anything." She's trying to think of good things to say. And then she tries to make it better, but she makes it worse. She goes, "I mean, from what we could see in your face, expressed a whole kind of range of emotion. And the way you look at the mail, you made it look so easy."
And then Marianne goes, "Do you think we should go now?" And Jennifer says, "Yes, I do," which is a flip, right? Usually it's Jennifer who's like,
saving
"We need
Marianne.
to go."
Yeah.
And Marianne's like, "Why? I want to find out what happens." But it's a flip.
Even
this
Marianne
time
could tell how awkward this was. And she's like, "We got to get out of here."
So they leave, and as they're leaving, she's still trying to be encouraging and everything. "Larry, you were great. You were great. It was a great night.
Everything was great. You were great."
And then they run out of there.
Go.
And Larry gets up. He's devastated. He's embarrassed. He gets up. He goes to the kitchen. He gets, guess what? His favorite late night snack, his bottle of antacid, again from the cupboard.
Room temperature.
I guess he has grown out of the refrigerated.
You know what? I feel like his his palate has got more sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know how people like to drink, like beer should be drink at a room temperature? Same thing with antacid. If you really want the flavors and the tannins to hit the tongue, you need room temperature Mylanta.
Right. So he's now, because we haven't seen him take it from the fridge since early season 1. So room temperature antacid out of the cupboard. Balki follows him, turns off the TV, follows him. Larry's chugging from the bottle, and Balki tries to reason with him and says he can see that he's upset. Larry says he's fine, and then he takes a swig from the bottle. Balki says, "But ever since we finished making the commercial, Larry's been on an antacid binge."
Oh, he's hitting that bottle.
And he encourages him. He says, "Don't you think it would make you feel better to talk about it?" And here's where we get why Larry is so in his head about it. And it makes sense. Imagine yourself, even now, but especially in your mid-20s when you're just, trying to be something. And so Larry says, "When Jennifer and Marianne left for Paris, I was Larry Appleton's star. By the time they got back, I was Larry Appleton, bit player." And Balki says, "Cousin, you're at least a 2-bit player." But that's what his stress is. His anxiety is about impressing the girls.
Well, he was bragging and he was boasting, and it turned out that he got left on the cutting room floor, which is always a fear when you're in a thing and you make a big deal out of it. You could get cut out of the whole thing. You don't know. Well, he goes on. He goes, Balky, I told everyone I was going to be a big star. I even practiced my autograph. Love you, Larry, he says. And he goes, I lost my part in the first 5 minutes. And then Balky goes, but cousin, that's just because they went a different way with it. Hey, that's his director voice. But Larry goes, Balky, that's Hollywood talk for getting fired. Now, when my friends look at me, all they'll see is Larry Appleton.
Balky tells him that he is underestimating his friends. And he says, we don't see that ridiculous Larry Appleton. Not for a second. And Larry's like, you don't? And Balky says, well, maybe for a second. And then we're at lesson time. Oh. This is the bulk of the lesson coming up, where we have Balky explaining to Larry that when his friends look at him, they see Larry Appleton, the good friend, and Larry Appleton, the kind person, and Larry Appleton, who is always there when you need him, and Larry Appleton, who never tears the tags off of mattresses.
That's against the law.
And Larry Appleton, Larry cuts him off. He says, thanks, Balky. I feel better. He was ready to go on with more things.
Keep going.
And then Larry kind of like pops out of his funk, and he tells Balky that actually he was pretty good in that commercial. And he says, you were sensational. Even just the way you said, here's your mail. And Balky goes, mail.
Mail.
And Larry's like, that's what I said. And Balky goes, no, you said mail. It's mail. And Larry goes, mail. And then there's a beat, and Balky just goes, better.
I love that callback.
Love
That's
it.
so good.
So sweet. Yeah. So sweet. And that they flipped the pronunciation back to the Meposian of mail.
Yeah.
And Larry says that he's proud of Balky. And he says, I'll bet you'll get a kick out of seeing your picture on every bus in Chicago. Then Balky says, well, you've got a surprise coming.
Whoa.
And Larry's like, what is it? What is it? And Balky doesn't say anything. He's like being coy.
Balky doesn't tell him what the surprise is. He's going to show him as they cut to an exterior outside establishing shot of Chicago. One of the stock shots, they pan down to one of the streets.
We know it's Chicago because we see the skyline. We see all the iconic buildings.
Then you see Balky and Larry running up a street and stopping at an intersection and pointing. And this is probably a set in L.A. This is not Chicago, right? But what are they pointing at? They're pointing at an old 1980s CTA Chicago bus. This is an actual on-location shot of a Chicago bus with a big side billboard for the Chicago Chronicle on the side of the bus with both pictures of Balky and Larry holding up a newspaper.
Larry's holding up a newspaper and Balky is holding his pointing finger because
Larry,
it says Chicago Chronicle, news with a friendly touch.
News with a friendly touch. And then so as the bus pulls away, they both lead into it and watch it drive in front of the Chicago Sun-Times building.
Which means the Chronicle is across the street from the Sun-Times?
Actually, the Whacker, the building where they keep showing us is that corner is across from the Wrigley building and the Sun-Times building.
Which
all
means
right
the Chronicle is across the street from the Sun-Times.
Also, which means they had to print that giant ad and put it on a real bus and drive around Chicago. Like you would have seen that on a bus and be like, wait a minute, what's that? That's from in the show.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. And that is the final scene of this episode, and we roll credits.
Listener, you want to start your collection of niche T-shirts that nobody else will have, T-shirts that will set you apart from your friends, and they're going to be like, oh my God, where'd you get that shirt? Visit our TeePublic shop, danceofjoypod.com/shop, where you can get a T-shirt or a hoodie or a tank top with the Dance of Joy logo. And I guarantee nobody else will be wearing the shirt. You will be the talk of the town. You're going to stick out, and you're going to help us promote the show and turn people on. We have more things than shirts there. Obviously, you could get the logo on lots of things. But right now, I just want you to look cool around your friends wearing a hipster shirt.
And if you're in a city like I am that is returning to mask mandates, please look very cool in a Dance of Joy face mask. We have 2 different styles, and they are very one of a kind.
It complements the shirt. Get them both. Send us a photo. Okay, this episode, again, we've already talked about how We always remember this episode. I feel like it's one of the classic episodes.
One of the classics. I love it.
You got great physical comedy. You got Larry just being a jerk and Larry splaining, and you got callback jokes.
I think
lots
Mary
of fun stuff.
Ann was brilliant. She only had small lines, was only in it for a minute, but her first line was so funny. I literally bust out laughing.
Lesbian. What?
Every time I watch this. What?
And then at the end, when she's like, was Larry in it? That's pretty fun. Mary Ann always steals the show. So Rebecca Arthur does such a great job. Here's a little inside joke. It's director Joel, assistant director Miles, named after regular series director Joel Wick and first assistant director Miles Christman. So they just used their names. That's
cool.
nice.
Little nods to real people.
Did you recognize the Steve Vinovich who played Joel, the director? We've seen him before.
I think I did. I think we saw him at Ritz Discount.
Yes, we did.
As a customer.
In the very first episode of the show.
Was it the very first episode?
I think it was the very first episode.
Yeah, so we have these, like, all the side little characters that are recurring actors, which I love. It's
Lydia
like
Markham's great. Belita Moreno,
Perfect
hilarious.
Strangers, multiverse.
Yeah.
Dimitri is in this episode.
Yes,
Did you happen to see Dimitri?
He is on the bookcase in the back, and he looks like to be wearing like Elton John diva large sunglasses and like a red coat and a gold necklace. He's dressed up like he's on the red carpet.
Like a Hollywood diva.
Yeah, like a Hollywood diva in the back. I like this one. I like those big round red sunglasses. Are really great on Dimitri. And that brings up our friend, actual Dimitri Sheep on Instagram.
Dimitri Sheep on Instagram. That's Dimitri Sheep, all one word. Please go like and follow. It is a brilliant spin-off Instagram account.
It is. Describe this one, sister. The location of this one tags Chicago Theater State Street. I like that.
So the Dimitri Sheep Instagram account is run by the actual Dimitri the Sheep, and it posts a themed post per every episode that we review. This episode, yes, the location is tagged as Chicago Theater State Street. We see Dimitri on top of many stars, like a boardwalk kind of thing. Theme.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like celebrity stars. There's like a star coaster and a star placemat, all these stars. And there is a theater ticket from Chicago from January 21, 1999. So Dimitri Sheep continued acting beyond 88. To 99, at least, if not still. And there is also I don't know, like an empty teacup or
lips on it.
With lips on it.
Oh, that's the kiss. Because in the beginning, when Jennifer kisses Larry, there's a kiss cheek on a stain on his cheek. You can see it for the rest of the scene.
That lipstick stain stays on Larry's cheek for the whole scene after Jennifer kisses him.
Dimitri Sheep also wearing big Greta Garbo glasses, dark sunglasses, very Greta Garbo.
Shawl.
Yeah, that's a very Greta Garbo. Like I'm hiding from the public and paparazzi.
So this is a really, really. I mean, every post is very well done. This one is well done as well. Dimitri Sheep, we say this every week. We love you. Keep doing what you do. It's super fun. And thanks for joining us on this journey. Everybody go over to Instagram and follow Dimitri Sheep.
Balkyisms and catchphrases. Don't be ridiculous was said once.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And then we have the hilarious cousin Larry is thinking of becoming a professional lesbian. What? Thespian. What? And then we got Balky calling him, hey, you're at least a 2-bit player. It's 25 cents, 2 bits. And then, of course, I love when Larry goes, Balky.
And then, of course, the line, which now has us cringing extra hard.
Such a different meaning.
When Larry goes wrong.
I know. Just hit so differently. Post last 4 years.
Yes.
We did get a great joke about Larry's upper lip in the Robin Leach impersonation. That I love. That they always get points when there's an upper lip joke.
Yes, and we have Larry drinking room temperature antacid from the bottle, which he pulls out of the cupboard. And now we are at the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we ponder what would happen if this story were to take place today. How would this episode be different? Well, I think this episode would be very, very different because, first of all, newspapers are almost gone. They're very stripped down. And also, advertising is fundamentally different now.
Yes.
Filmed advertisements, like commercials, they go on YouTube, they go on the internet.
They're a lot flashier.
I don't really see like a filmed television commercial on television for a
newspaper. And that's a weird, I mean, it's kind of seems like a weird thing now, but you know, they had them back then, but like now there's no way, no newspaper has a budget to pay for a commercial because they know people aren't reading the newspaper.
But you know what? If it was today, like Balky and Larry would just like do an Instagram takeover, or like Lydia would do an Instagram takeover for the Chronicle for a day and like try to increase their followers or something like that.
It would be about like we have to seem more relatable and give people a behind the scenes transparent look at the business. Maybe the Chronicle.
They would do IG live stories around the building.
Maybe the Chronicle wants to start like a YouTube channel and they're looking for a host for their podcast or their show.
Right. That as well.
And then you got to submit these audition tapes to get the gig.
Well, Lydia would have her own podcast.
Oh, right.
As the
Her advice podcast. Yeah. It would have to be like they're filming a movie and I'm trying to get a part in this movie that just happens to take place.
And would Balky still be working? Would there even be a mailroom?
Well, yeah, there's still mail. There's still mail to sort. There's still paper mail. It comes in. It's got to get dealt with, but
it's all junk mail.
It's all junk mail. It goes right into the receptacle.
So it would be pretty fundamentally different, but we could still have the same themes, right? Like people looking to be the face of the Chronicle on whatever medium we're using these days, if it's an IG takeover or a TikTok account or a Twitter account or whatever.
I mean, it just comes down to the same. You got to get someone to tell Larry you're going to be a star, and it to go to his head.
Larry would be obsessed with trying to reach a certain number of followers, and probably it would be like some like embarrassing moment that was caught that he didn't intend to be caught, and then that goes viral, and then suddenly he has like 1 million followers, and then that goes to his head.
He tries to do it again.
But it's all because he went viral for something embarrassing.
And then they try to do it again, and it fails, and they can't get it done. That's a good idea.
And then everyone turns on, all his followers turn on him afterward and start leaving, and he's sad. Yeah, that's kind of how it would play out, isn't it?
Thinking about both of them trying to like figure out how to get likes and why people like stuff and how the mob turns
and then
so
Balky
quickly.
will post something like very adorable about Dimitri and then get more likes than Larry, and then Larry will feel sad.
In the fleeting nature of like, just wait 30 seconds and the next thing will happen and you'll be forgotten, and that's what happens.
Yes. So
that's how it is today. There's a great episode of Perfect Strangers. We just rewrote it. Well done.
Well,
okay, no Balky duds this week again. We've kind of hit a dry spell
of new duds.
Yeah, there's no new. He's wearing vests, but it's all vests we've seen before that have been labeled.
Like a cool patterned red shirt.
Yeah. We see, I think, opening sequence, and I forget this one with the little wrench looking thing on it. But
Rainey, we miss you. Please come back with more Balky duds.
When she does return, it's going to be all the sweeter, listen.
It's going to be great.
We're going to love it. But we got a bunch of shout outs.
Like I said before, our fans in the Facebook group are having lengthier and lengthier discussions about every episode. We love to see it. So we're just going to mention some highlights from that discussion. We have cousin Lauren Miller, who says the Robin Leach impersonation was spot on. Lauren Miller also enjoyed Larry, quote unquote, modulating his voice. And of course, everyone's favorite word, mail.
It's your mail.
Lauren also writes, this was easily one of the worst cases of Larry-splaining ever. Wait, is it worst Larry-splaining or
the best Larry-splaining?
Larry-splaining?
Well, Larry-splaining is just worst. Bad.
Right.
But it was the best, Larry splaining being the worst. The best
and
of
this
Larry
is
being
interesting. Lauren wrote that honestly, this was not one of her favorite episodes, but it has its moments and a host of good Larry duds. Not one of her favorite moments. This episode has always stood out to me. It's like I said, it's anything that sticks in your head like that for 30 years has got to be one of my favorite episodes.
Absolutely.
One of the most memorable ones.
It was definitely memorable because I never forgot Balky walking and saying mail. Like that was burned into my. Lauren Miller also runs the Larry Duds Instagram account if you want to follow that and see all the Larry Duds. Cousin Pam has a great line. She said Larry's ego was as high as Jennifer's hair in this one. Absolutely. Fantastic line and very accurate.
We have cousin Sebi or Sibi. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. I think it's Sebi. Who writes, at the end, Larry trying to squeeze into the shot as the camera zooms in on Balky in the commercial is comedic gold. Marklyn Baker's facial expression was so delightfully pathetic here.
That's a great way to put it.
100%
it was delightfully pathetic. It's so
pathetic.
Funny. And then cousin Evelyn points out more Shakespeare references. She's the one who's been teasing her. You know, she loves Shakespeare and all the Shakespeare that is in this show. She says, Major Shakespeare alert. The title of the episode is, of course, from the famous soliloquy in Shakespeare's play Hamlet. But she goes on to explain this whole show is structured kind of like a Shakespeare play. Shakespeare very often made use of the play within a play technique or theme.
So here we have
the
actors, Marklyn Baker and Bronson Pinchot, playing roles who are acting.
Yes.
So they're actors.
To play within a play within a play.
Playing roles of people who are then acting in a commercial in the show. So actors acting inside acting. So it is that Shakespearean play within a play. So it's very meta, as cousin Evelyn
and a great,
points out.
Great way to put the reference in, the title with the title. Very clever, very well thought out.
And finally, cousin John writes, Larry's Richard Burton style delivery is fantastic.
So that's a good way to describe how Larry was talking, I think, in the 80s context. This dude, Richard Burton.
Richard Burton was a Welsh actor in the 1950s, who, by the way, ties in because he gave a memorable performance of Hamlet in 1964.
Yep.
But the reference here is to Richard Burton because he was known for his baritone voice.
So I guess Larry, once he thinks of like actor, just went straight to, I got to sound like Richard Burton. He's an actor. I'm just going to sound like him.
He's like a famous Shakespearean actor. So this is what Larry thinks of acting. And fun fact, this is not the first time Richard Burton has been mentioned in Perfect Strangers. When was the last time we heard about Richard Burton?
They were talking about, I forget what they were talking about, but Marianne said something like, I think I saw Richard Burton do that one on TV as like some miniseries, and he was in the Thornbirds. But that would have been the Richard Burton style of delivery. You know how like you have the William Shatner style of delivery, and that's definitely the Richard Burton. Good call there, cousin John.
Good call, cousin John. Thank you so much. Again, keep that discussion in the group going. We watch it. We follow it. It's great to see. It's very exciting. And we're so happy that all of you listeners are going on this journey with us. And if you're still on the journey with us, make sure you join us next week. What do we have next week?
Balky learns how to deal with confidential information he may see while working at the mailroom while Larry wants to buy a new car. I thought he had a Mustang. He's got a sweet Mustang. He wants another car. He has another dream car he will be chasing.
We'll find out what happens.
Hilarity will ensue. In the meantime, you can always visit our website, danceofjoypod.com, to listen to the show, for all the links to get in touch, our social medias, how to send us an email. There's a little microphone in the lower right-hand corner. You can record a voicemail and send it, and we'll play it on the show. and they're part of the show. It's crazy. But of course, sister, what is the most important thing the listener should do?
Press play.
Always salt your meats. And then share the show with a friend while you're salting your meats. Always, yes. Share it with anyone who doesn't know Perfect Strangers. Share with the new generation who see a VHS tape and they're like, what's that? And then you got to explain what it is. And then you're like, by the way, here's the show, Perfect Strangers. Here's a podcast. Check it out.
Share it with everyone, young and old. Everyone can benefit from 22 minutes of joy in their lives.
Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.